terminology. Have you got a song for today?
Well, I was just thinking. Excuse me.
It's like you wait for the podcast to start for all your coughs to happen.
I did that one on purpose. You think about some of those stars that never really aged. Right, you get some stars that
I don't think about that.
They
Give me an example.
I was just going.
Actually, yeah, I do know some.
Like Sade. There must have been an angel by my side. But I was looking at a photograph of her yesterday. She still looks like she looked in the 80s. Like, it's bonkers, dude. What is it? How on earth do they do that? How on earth do you stay like that fresh? I don't know.
It's lots of plastics, is it?
I don't know, but she doesn't look like she's had any plastic surgery.
I haven't seen a photo of her.
Look, either the photograph was from back then, but I couldn't see anything.
There's definitely some celebrities that you see looking quite a bit younger. What was the song? That wasn't her. What was her famous song?
There must have been an angel by my side. That was one of them. Smooth Operator. Right, that was another one of hers.
Yeah.
She had loads of great tracks. She was really good, and she had
a beautiful voice.
Very sexy.
I remember her voice.
Very, very sexy. Anyway, but then again, some actors and singers really aged back.
I was thinking about, just as you were saying that, the first person that came to mind was Madonna, because remember you used to love Madonna and how she reinvented herself all the time and stuff.
Now she's just a
she just doesn't
weirdo.
look. She doesn't look like. Yeah. I mean, each to their own, but she does not look.
She wears all that looking.
Yeah.
She really looks like. I love it when she went through the disco phase and the cowboy phase and all that stuff. Like, it was very clever. Like, just what a genius.
Because
like,
she kept reinventing herself.
But now she's into all that hell stuff and Satan stuff and, like, what the fuck is going on with this? Like, honestly, God, fucking...
I think we better not go down that.
No, but I'm just saying, it's just, isn't it?
There's a lot of that. When they look, they turn. They definitely look different over time.
Like it looks like somebody's wound something up on the top of her head, and as she's just getting younger and younger and younger and more plastic. It's fucking terrifying.
Anyway,
so yes, we were going to talk about
what are you talking about? Relationship
connection,
and connection, specifically connection in relationships. Do you want to talk about how do you want to start? What do you want to talk about?
Let's just dive into it. I mean, relationships are all about how you connect with people, right?
Yeah.
And how you connect with your partner, and there's certain things that make you compatible, and there's certain things that aren't compatible. You can be compatible on some things, and Simon Sinek talks a little bit about how you can be compatible on some things, but if you have these particular three things, and we'll add to that, because I don't fully agree with what he's saying, but I think that if we look at how it is, we connect with people, it's all about being compatible, and connection is about compatibility. And
when we talk about it, like, can I dive into that a little bit? Because when we talk about it, and we talk about that whole, because I'm not talking about okay, maybe we have to clarify this. Relationships, at the end of the day, we can talk about the partner relationship, but we can talk about in the bigger scheme of things, relationships in general, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going into the bigger scheme for a minute, because if we talk about relationships in general, and we talk about how 25% of our values overlap with 25% of another person's values.
Yeah.
If that's anybody.
Yeah.
So it's not just a partner. Yeah. It can be anyone that you like or dislike.
Yeah. It's important to say there, it's a percentage.
25% of your values. Amount. Sorry, that's what I should have said. So 25% of your values align with 25% of every other person's values.
Yeah.
And so the compatibility is there in equal measure for everybody, in a sense, right? It's just that the alignment of values is that...
well, the environment creates scenarios where the value systems either it's epigenetic. They create an environment where the value systems either over time align or they don't.
Right.
You understand? Or there's not enough time around that person for the value systems not to align.
Yeah, or because when I think freedom a little bit comes from the fact that actually any single person you can have a relationship with, and I don't mean a physical or sexual relationship with, I'm just talking about be in relationship with, because ultimately if we look deep enough, there's enough of our values that align, right? So I don't remember why I was asking this question, what I was going to ask, but I think when you're talking about compatibility, we have to understand, I think, that ultimately, I think it's the values that you hold most important that align with another person's values that they hold most important. Then, like, you know, to be able to have that relationship, the things that are most important to us need to kind of align together on an intellectual level, on an emotional level, and if it's a sexual relationship, on a sexual level as well. Yes?
Yeah. So, and if we're looking at, you know, intellectually, you know, and the alignment of intellectual ability, and, you know, if intellectually you don't align, I mean, what does that even look like? Do you know what does it look like if you don't align intellectually? Is you know, is if one person is, you know, studying at Harvard and, you know, specializing, becoming, you know, it doesn't. This is why I'm saying, like,
I think what he means when he talks about the intellectual alignment, I don't think it's about the intellectual capability, but it's about the compatibility, that you enjoy the same things at an intellectual level. Does that make sense?
You enjoy the process of learning. You enjoy the process of studying and expanding your brain and expanding your mind. And
that's how I see what he's talking about in terms of that. Do you know what I mean? And then emotionally, that you're on the same level, at some level emotionally, that you can have that understanding at an emotional level, to not just in terms of what you focus on intellectually, but that you can grow together on an emotional level. You can challenge each other and push each other and grow together on an emotional level. And then he talks about it on a sexual level for the sexual compatibility. And he talks about you having to have all three of those. I agree. I think he's right in terms of that. But I think what we wanted to talk a little bit about today was about connection, and how we sometimes choose to in our relationships, oftentimes we choose the safety sometimes of avoiding a scenario instead of the connection that diving into that challenge might bring us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so we're talking about the cost of avoidance.
Yes,
is the longevity of connection. With a person.
And not just the longevity. Yes, the longevity, but it's also the security of the connection. Because what you're choosing is the safety of avoiding the situation instead of the security of creating a connection between you and the other person. Which ensures the longevity. So, excuse me. I think that I mean, we have this part of us that wants to run from pressure. It wants to run from that stuff. It doesn't want to deal with it. It doesn't, you know. I'm not like that at all.
We don't want to have those. We don't want to have those pointy conversations. But we don't want to have it because we don't want to feel a certain something. But the funny thing is that every time we do that, we try to avoid those tough conversations, or we try to reach the safety of it, is when we actually feel unsafe, and it's when we actually feel insecure. It's when we actually feel like I'm not where I want to be. So everything we're trying to avoid, and we're trying to feel, you know, the safety of avoidance, is everything that you're feeling anyway. You know, so.
You get a level of
safety. But we're also afraid of that, of the primitive behaviour that comes out of having that conversation. You know what I mean? We're afraid of, how am I going to behave when I got to talk about this? What's going to go on for me when I'm going to talk about this? I don't want to behave primitively. I don't want to. And I think that setting parameters going into a conversation like that with your partner is really important. And then also, because that helps the partner, and then also being able to have the conversation and set a destination of where you want to get to, so that the person feels, okay, so this is where this is going to lead. It's not going to go anywhere further south. I'm trying to get to this destination. I want to set some parameters on the way in, and this is the stuff I need to talk about.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we've talked about that before, so I don't disagree with that. But I feel like what we're talking about here is the amount of avoidance the thing we think we're trying to avoid, right, we're actually getting in the long term, which is what you've just said, right? But we're choosing in some ways staying in the same space. Does that make sense? So if we want to have, and we want to dive deeper into a level of connection, we have to be you're right about setting the parameters with the other person, but I feel like we also have to understand that for ourselves, because when we are ourselves choosing the safety of avoiding, it's because it's not really about the other person. That's our own thing. It's our own perception that we feel that we're going to be safer in this space, instead of feeling like, actually, when I come together with this other person, with my partner, I'm now going to have the security there. So I'm choosing this safety here instead of the security of this connection with my partner that is potential after having the tough conversation. Does that make sense? So I agree with the parameters thing, but I think it's not just that. I think it needs to, it's also I think it's really a self-reflection thing in terms of understanding the moments where we choose safety over connection. And I think that in any relationship, I think it's big in friendships. I think it's big in parenting, and I think it's big in partner, like sexual relationships. This next part that I'm going to talk about is that there oftentimes people will come up with little bids to connect and little moments where they want to connect, and how we handle those things really shows us how we deal with, or how we can push the limits of connection in our own selves. Do you know what I mean? Because oftentimes it can be a vulnerable thing for us to lean into attempting to connect, right? That's what I call a bid for connection. Somebody comes up to you, like, I don't know, I'll talk about it with partners, right? You're standing in the kitchen or something like that, and Ange comes around and she's trying to connect with you, but you're busy cooking, and so you just ignore her, right? That's a bid for connection. She's trying to put her arms around you. She's trying to say something to you. She's trying to connect, and you turn away from that and you reject that connection. That's going to make her feel some sort of way, right? If you ignore it, like rejecting it is pushing it away. Ignoring it is just not paying any attention to it. Right. And accepting it is leaning into it, which is turning around, giving her a wink, giving her a hug, saying something, making a joke or something, and that's your connection piece. Does that make sense? So those little bids for connection, it's how we handle those that I think deepen our ability to connect. It's the same with kids, right?
But if people don't know that, because another way that people sometimes try to connect is they try to do it through drama. They're trying to do it through problems, and the problem with that is that if you don't know that that's what you're trying to do, when you come in, you go, oh fuck it, and the dog just peed on the floor, or I wasn't able to get this at the shops today, or I was hoping to be able to have this for dinner, but it doesn't look like. Yeah. The problem with that is that the partner may, if you don't get that, there's really healthy ways to be able to connect with your partner that don't require drama.
I think there's two elements to that. I agree with you, because I was thinking about that as I was thinking about the next part I was going to say, right? So let's say these are just bids for connection. So we can choose to accept them, ignore them, or reject them. And in the way that we do that, it fosters further connection, or it disintegrates the connection in some level, right? If we talk about kids, that's just it for an example, and I'm just talking like just to give an example. We're sitting there, we're on our phone, and a kid comes in, is all smiley and happy, and that's a bid for connection. A kid doesn't know any better, right? You're on your phone and you're not paying attention. You can ignore it, you can reject it, push it away, or you can accept it and you can understand that that's what they're doing, right? So either way, we have to understand that there's times, basically is what I'm saying, that other people are trying to connect with us. We've got to be able to understand those and understand how to lean into those in moments to really help us to foster connection. A kid doesn't understand the difference about being dramatic and being, you know what I mean, in terms of that. And so you would be able to still find ways to foster connection with a kid, right? In order to not have it be reliant on the drama that's coming in order for the connection to occur. But the reason somebody is looking for the connection is because they perceive it's missing in the first place. So my feeling is that you accept the bid for connection, and then from there you can communicate about other ways that can be connected. But I feel like a kid will consistently, like their bid for connection might be running in the room and smiling and all happy. If they keep getting rejected, their bid for connection is going to be louder and more dramatic and more dramatic and more dramatic until they feel like they don't need to do that in order to get the connection. Does that make sense? So I think in terms of a relationship, I think it kind of works the same. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a vulnerability in asking, even in not physically, not being consciously asking for the connection, but there's a vulnerability in leaning in sometimes, especially if you've had a tough time or you've been going through some stuff. To be able to lean into asking for some of that connection can be quite challenging. It can be quite vulnerable. So I feel like I think the way that I feel our understanding of how other people are aiming to connect and seeing that for what it is, that an attempt to connect, that like they care enough about me to want to connect with me here, and potentially me being more able to do that or even not able to do that. Like there's times where, especially because I'm not with your kids, for example, all the time, when I'm with them, I feel I'm quite present with them, right? But every now and then there's times where I will need to take a phone call, I'll need to do something, I need to be preoccupied. So I'll literally say to them, I need to finish this first, and in that, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to be paying attention here, right? But letting people know that you can't. Do you know what I mean? Like that to me is all part of the process.
There's times when the kids will come out and like I'll just be absolutely just blown up, you know, and I just need to switch off, you know. I just need to go and just zone out, and I'll get on the couch and Ollie will come in and he'll go, "Hey Dad, come on, let's play. And I'm like, dude, I'm absolutely rooted, you know. But I tell you what, you know, jump on the couch here with me, and you know, let's have a quick cuddle and a chat and da 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 da. And it's just like, as long as you connection is just it's just minutes. As long as they know they're getting it, that's all they want.
Well, connection to me is, I think connection for me is like an understanding that another person is with you on something. Do you know what I mean? Like it feels like you're not talking at each other or you're with the other person. So the way even watching movies with kids, it's like you're sitting there and you're interacting about the movie. To me, that's connection. Do you know what I mean? Or you know, giving a little foot rub or whatever. That's connect. There's little things that you don't need to be talking. You can be on the other side of the world and have connection. Do you know what I mean? Which is just knowing that the other person's with you in some way. So I think that relationships. In terms of like fostering connection in relationships, I think it's about understanding what the other person is looking for in terms of connection. I think really it also, like that to me is what connection is. Talking to somebody isn't necessarily, you can talk to people and not be connected with them. Do you know what I mean? Just because you're having a conversation. To me, it's like feeling like you're with somebody in something. Do you know what I mean? So I think potentially understanding connection is understanding how the other person feels that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like Like Lexi, for example, would feel connection in one way. Ange would feel in another. Oliver in another. Lola in another. Do you know what I mean? You in another. So understanding the dynamics of that helps you to help foster.
And also what is, you know, what's a healthy way for them to be able to connect? What is the effective, healthy way that allows the person to feel connection? Like I know with Lexi, the healthy way for me to connect with her is if I say to her, "Hey, tell me something funny that's happening at school."
She loves
she'll come in and we'll have a laugh. With Ollie, you know, if I just say, "Let's go and play some ball," you know, we'll go play some basketball. That's how he connects, and he'll chat and talk, and you know, they're the little things that allow him to feel out his own personality and who he is as a person. Like when he's doing that, he'll come and play basketball. He'll come and he'll taunt me. He'll jeer me. But that's his personality coming out, and that's where he's trying to exercise boundaries and his safety and all that sort of stuff about what's okay and what's not okay.
I think I just as a quick thing about the bids for connection, I remember when Oliver was quite little and he was waking up in the mornings really grumpy and he was getting all the love and he was getting all the attention. And I think Ange kind of realised, like not that long into it, she was like, now he's not just doing it for that. Now he's doing it because he thinks that's the way he's going to get attention. Yeah. So she called him on it, had the conversation with him, and now he's not getting rewarded for that. He's getting rewarded for the other bids for connection that he's got. Do you know what I mean? I think it's tricky sometimes. I was out with the family last night, and one of my nephews will not hug anybody. And I find that really difficult because the way I connect is through touch, especially with kids. And I have to find different ways. Otherwise, he doesn't feel like he's loved. He doesn't want the kisses. He doesn't want the hugs. So for me to connect with him, it's like I have to really be of the ways that I communicate with him.
So how does he connect?
So I was at the birthday last weekend and he was singing all the AFL theme songs. So he came and sat next to me and sang the theme songs with me. That is a big thing. Like that's not a thing he always does. Yeah. But it was like, we go through this and da-da-da. Then he jumps up and down and you've got to tease him. So he wants to be involved in the kisses, but he doesn't want to get the kisses. So I blow him kisses and he jumps out of the way and out of my air kisses. And that's his way of he feeling like I've made an effort to connect with him, but I'm not invading he really feels uncomfortable. You cannot touch him. I got a fist bump the other day and I was like, oh my God, I got a fist bump from this kid. Like he was.
How old is he?
He's 9. Okay. Yeah. And the last 3 or 4 years he's been like that. And then he's just starting to not be as not as doing the physical connection as much with his mum. It's just his way. His brother is completely different and it's fine. But it's like I can't assume my way of connecting is his way of connecting. So it's really a conscious thing. And I think connection has to be, sometimes it can be unconscious. Sometimes it's easy with certain people and with certain children. But I think when it comes to partners, I think we've got to be really conscious of the ways that we attempt to connect and understanding what their thing is.
Oh, yeah, you
and
gotta
like
look
for Ange, like you bring her a cup of coffee or she doesn't drink the coffee so much anymore. But I remember in the past, you bring her a glass of water in the morning and she's like, it's a very simple thing, but she feels like you care. Do you know what I mean? She feels like you're connecting with her.
Yeah.
And it's the same with it's the same with everyone. That's just how I see it anyway. Yeah. So
yes, indeed.
I think sometimes it's really conscious, and sometimes
people don't even understand that's what's going on.
Yeah,
they don't. They just get every time I speak to my wife, she's just moaning about something. No, every time I speak to my husband, he's just giving out about someone at work. No, what he's trying to do is he's trying to connect.
He's trying to connect,
and he's trying to hotwire connection, and he's trying to do it through drama.
And I think that's probably that's the key, right? There's bids for connection, which is I'm coming over here, I'm putting myself in a space where it's a bit more vulnerable, and then there's trying to hotwire connection. I think what you were talking about in terms of the drama, in terms of all that stuff, is people are like, I don't know how to ask or whatever, and so I'm trying to sidestep it in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
But do you not think that a bid is different to hotwire?
Yeah,
and a lot of people would think that bidding, they're mistaking bidding or bidding or hotwiring for bidding, but in actual fact they're hotwiring. They're not bidding. Bidding. How would you compare bidding as opposed to hotwiring?
Well, like I said, just if somebody is starting a conversation with you, right, and you don't really finish the conversation, you don't really communicate in the conversation. Somebody's starting a conversation because they want to talk with you about something. Do you know what I mean? If you cut them off, they're bidding for a connection. They're not just saying something because they're like putting it out there. They want to have a conversation. Do you know what I mean? And then I think hotwiring connection is like what you said. It's like, I know you and I in the past have done that through drama a little bit in terms of stories about something that's happened. I remember years ago, Yeah, or even during COVID times for a little bit, yeah. But even early days when there were people in our lives that were doing dramatic things and you and I would talk about it and it was like that we would connect over talking about that instead of finding other ways to connect, do you know what I mean? So I definitely think that's there. I think especially at in terms of your personal relationship, close friendships, family, I think that if the initial bids aren't met, I think it can turn into trying to hotwire.
Yeah.
So I think it's the responsibility of both parties to help to, I don't know, find the balance. I think of what's required
and understand. I mean, and understand what's going on. You know that's what's happening when they're feeling disconnected. They're trying to connect, and they're coming home or they're coming into a situation where they want to connect.
And they're
trying to find common ground. Do you feel the same way about this as I feel, so that we can come together and we can talk about it?
Yeah, I think that there's responsibility on both parts in the sense that, you know, as an adult, particularly if I'm knowing that I'm trying to hotwire a connection. I'm best to be able to pull back and go, actually, I'm asking for connection here and actually physically asking. And I think that as an adult, you can do that. But as an adult working with a child doesn't understand that. So you need to be able to communicate in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
And look, the other thing is that, you know, otherwise you're going to live a life of drama. You know, so many people, you know, congregate around drama, you know, and drama's just a hook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you're aware of it, if you're able to step outside and go, no, this is just a fucking a cesspit of drama, and it's just a hook. There's no way for me to. I'm losing my ability to grow intellectually here. I'm losing my ability to grow emotionally if I'm dropping into this.
Yeah.
Because when people are in drama, you know, they're getting the pleasure of it, and that's
they think they're getting just the pleasure.
They're getting a hit, and that's what they're doing. They're just fucking addicted to this hit of, when I'm in drama, I get this hit. Yeah. You know, I've done my best in my life to measure that out of my life. How do I get rid of that in my life? You know, you're best to occupy your life without that sort of stuff because it's not conducive to you getting to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.